Welcome back to Black White Band, ladies and gentlemen, for another live stream. I'm doing these thick and fast now. The season is definitely well underway when I'm putting myself on a screen with these lovely people for another match preview. Many things to talk about from Sunday's game that I haven't even had a chance to digest properly yet after the bank holiday weekend. And of course, we are in the last week of the transfer window as well. So before we get into all the lovely topics, I'm joined by Cold Dog, who I think everyone definitely knows by now. Mr. Hill, who hasn't actually been on here for a while, and Hannah, who came on this just at the back end of last season for the first time. So, Hannah, what is everyone doing?
Ladies first.
Very well, thank you very much.
Good.
Good, thank you.
Excellent. And yeah, I'm just going to fire this on the screen now for anyone. Any questions for the end, please start them with hashtag BWB. The only reason I'm saying that is because it makes my life a little bit easier when I look through the comments to try and dig questions out that I can ask and we can discuss. It doesn't have to be about football. If you want to know what I got up to in bank holiday weekend, that's fine. If you want to know whether Colin's bookshelf behind him is actually real, that's fine. Fire the question in and we will discuss it at the end. Right, who's in the building? Cold Dog, you hero. I tell you what, you've already got a comment coming in, Cold Dog. There you go. Right, so, ladies and gentlemen,
needs glasses.
Plenty of things to talk about. So we'll start. We're all at the game on Sunday, which is nice. A game like Bournemouth, a trip like Bournemouth, that doesn't often happen that you get 4 people who all made that very, very long journey down on a bank holiday Sunday to watch that down on the south coast. So, Bournemouth on Sunday. I'll start with you, Hannah. Firstly, what did you think of the game overall? Because you told me on Sunday on that bus that you had plenty to say.
I always do that when I've had a few drinks, don't I? Let me mouth go.
Well, yeah, that's true.
No, I think collectively it was poor. Other than probably the subs who came on, I think Barnes and Trippier probably changed the game up a little bit. I think it was just a poor performance, lacked intensity, felt a little bit like it didn't feel like a team under Eddie Howe at some points. Like it just felt like we didn't know what we were doing. I think we got very, very lucky. I'm sure we'll come on to the decisions with VAR and stuff, but for me, it probably wasn't a handball. I think as a Bournemouth fan, you would have probably felt coming out of that you'd lost out on 2 points more than anything else. So, yeah, I think it was just an overall a very, very poor performance.
Mm-hmm. And what about you, Colin?
Most of that I agree with. I think it's a very interesting comment that you made that it didn't feel like Eddie Howe's team. Now you've said that, I totally understand why you've said it. I think there's points watching that game where, as a fan, the frustration kicks in that we all made that long journey down there, 670 miles round trip, and it's as if the team were still on holiday mode. For some of them, it feels as if they were playing in a friendly and they didn't seem that impetus to get going and get on with it. And I think you're spot on. Trippier totally changed the game for me. He just wants to whip that ball in. I mean, Matt and I talked about this earlier on today. I think the changes you had really made a big difference. A couple of players didn't impress me at all. And I don't want to really say that too loud because we're 2 games in. And to have 4 points after 2 games, was I reading somewhere it's 1998 since we won 2 games in a row at the start of a Premiership season? Boom.
I'm gonna go on record, Colin, and say you might have read that in my last word blog. So I'm just gonna put that out there. That might have been in my blog that you might have read.
Well, it just proves I read. It proves I read what you put on there. But I did tell you it's probably. I said this to you, Matthew, today. It's one of your most honest blogs that you've put on. When I read that, I thought, shit, this is a lad who's just thought straight from the heart, said it as it is, rather than overthinking it. Hey, it's the first time I've ever said it. It'll be the last. But overall, when I read it, I think, yeah, I get it. I understand. I can feel the love still there for the club, because it always will be. But I can feel the frustration as well.
Mm-hmm. I'm hearing mixed things so far. What about you, Andy? What did you think traveling back on that long journey back from Sunday's game?
I think there's. I agree with Hannah. That wasn't an Eddie Howe performance. I don't think Southampton at home was a Eddie Howe performance. I think there's some jostling for position going on field and off field. You know, who's doing what off the field. And I think there's some jostling for position, who's doing what on the field. There looks like there's players that maybe be unsettled or not happy with something. You know, this Guay goes on again tonight. He's been picked. He's going to be cup tied. We can't pay £70 million for a centre half that's cup tied, unless we go and get knocked out the Carabao Cup tomorrow night, of course. But I think I just didn't enjoy it again. I thought we were really lucky. I thought we're lucky to have 11 on the pitch at the end. I agree. I think when you put Hall and Trippier on, they want to play a little bit further forward. They're much more front-footed. And we just, for 2 games, we haven't looked like really scoring a goal in open play. Isaac, Gordon have been really poor for me in the first 2 games. We're desperate for a quality centre-half. Botman needs to come back. We need, obviously we've got missing Shaw for another 2 games, but it's hard. You're 2 weeks into a Premier League season of 30-odd games, and you're on 4 points. So if you win your home games and you get a point away from home all season, you take that 100%. It seems like we're really overcritical at the minute, but it also seems like we're not very good either, and there's something not right somewhere. But look, a big boost to Tonali back in the squad tomorrow. He wants to play front foot. I've not enjoyed Longstaff for the first 2 games, if I'm truthful with you. I just don't get him now. I'm struggling with him. So I just feel like there's something not right. But then you wake up and think, well, you're just being overcritical 2 games in. And I tell you what, a lot of teams will go to Bournemouth and struggle because they'll be good at home. They might get battered on the road, but they'll be good at home.
It's funny you've all 3 of you have kind of like collectively mentioned like a mix of things that have been going on in my head since that match, because I know you just mentioned it, Andy, there, that like it is only 2 games in, so you take that with a pinch of salt. So I mean, with regards to talking about the substitutes, I guess it's a case of how much are we looking at this that maybe some of our bigger players just aren't quite there yet. And like, I know he's not being talked about enough. I would also mention Bruno in that. I think when Bruno is absolutely firing, Newcastle normally are as well. And I don't really think Southampton game's a funny one because an attacking player with 10 men behind the ball, are they really going to light up a match like that? Probably not. But again, I thought on Sunday Bruno was a little bit hitty-missy, not really pulling the strings how maybe Alexander Isak would like and maybe the rest of the team. But is it a case for us now with an international tournament summer where we do think things are going to get better? Or I guess my next question will be, is the reason to be concerned that in the first 2 matches, we haven't really had that intensity? We haven't really created all of those chances. Alexander Isak's been quiet. Gordon's looking a bit higgledy-piggledy. We don't really know what's going on with him. I'll start with you this time, Colin. Is the reason to be concerned there, or is it just a case of 2 matches in, we could beat Tottenham on Sunday, we might go through to the Cup tomorrow night, just everybody take a breath?
Do you know what? Just thinking that exact thing. Just breathe and think about this. One thing I need to pick up on, you say about 10 men against Southampton in the first game. First 23 minutes against Southampton, they had the better of the ball. They were the stronger team. They attacked a lot more of us. We just seemed like, come on, we'll take you on. So overall, dead lucky Southampton. But going forward at this point, I would be, for one, extremely disappointed if we don't go through the next round in this cup. For the simple reason is I'll say this out loud: we are not going to win the Premiership this season. Right? It's not going to happen. And I don't care how much slating I get.
Hang on. How negative are you being?
We're not going
to win the Premier League.
We won't be for 2 or 3 seasons. Chill out a minute. So, but for me, we need to focus on winning, and even it's the lesser cup of the 2. I'd rather the team focus on that to win something, because that's what we're craving, that's what we're wanting. Finished 6th in the table in a cup. Tell me not one of you would take that now.
100%.
But going forward, let's not worry too much. I think in 3-4 games' time more, I think we'd then start pulling things apart even more.
Well, I'll change.
Andy, I totally agree with you. And for the first time I've ever said this, I've been a person who's thought a lot of Longstaff But then first 2 games, watching him back, he looks absolutely lost. He looks absolutely, because he has played a pivotal part in last season, the season before. And yes, he can be a pain sometimes, but he has been a player who, for me, has put his heart and soul in. But he just doesn't get that credit for that. But the thing for me is he's now just nothing more than a squad player, not somebody to be in the start 11 each game.
I'll tell you. Can I just answer that question? Is there a reason to be concerned? If we get to midnight on Friday night, right, with the baggage still in our squad, with 122 goalkeepers from all over the world,
and potentially another one on the way,
and potentially another one on the way.
Just what we wanted, another goalkeeper in.
Yeah. So, should we be worried? Yeah, we should. If we've got Ryan Fraser still on the books, Jamal Lewis still on the books, we've got a plethora of players who will not kick a football for Newcastle United this year still on the books. With no do we need a centre half? That's another argument. We definitely need one more attacking option. Yeah, preferably. Yeah, and I know a right winger, but I still think we need another centre forward. So if by the time we get to Friday night, and we've still got a load of rubbish sat in the background, and we haven't brought in 2 or 3 bodies, I think we should be really worried. And I mean, like, really worried, because we've got to get the January window. Any big run of bad injuries, which we're pretty good at having, we've got a problem.
Well,
you know,
I'm going to change.
I take
Sorry, I was just going to say, Andy, I was just going to jump in there. We are going to talk about transfers in a second. That's on the list. Whilst we last look on the topic of Bournemouth, I'll change my question to you all then. What was all of yours, if you could only tell me one, moving into Forest, moving into Tottenham on Sunday? What was your one concern from Sunday? And if you want to make that collectively Southampton and Bournemouth, that's fine. I'll stick with you, Andy, on this one. What was your biggest concern?
Dan Burn at centre half again.
All right, okay. I wasn't expecting a defensive answer there, but that's fair.
Matt,
that's fair.
He knows when he's touched tight with a centre forward. He absolutely knows if that centre forward spins him, he's on his arse. So he's just pulling and tugging. It's an accident waiting to happen. It's a huge accident waiting to happen. I would have probably went with Lloyd Kelly at centre half alongside Kraft and brought Hall in at fullback, because Burns like Longstaff. He's a squad player, and everybody loves him. Everybody, most people love Longstaff as well. I get it. I totally get it. But if we want to be consistently challenging for a cup, challenging for top 4, these people can't start week in, week out for us. They can't. They're not good enough. They're not good enough. And I just think Burns an accident waiting to happen. And my other thing, the second thing was, I want to know why Bruno and Joe Linton just passed the ball to each other all the time throughout that game. 3 times when Barnes came on, he was screaming for it, and Bruno found Joe Linton instead of getting that other attacking ball.
You have seen the pair of them dancing at Joe Linton's wedding, haven't you, Andy? I mean, they are quite a close-knit little Brazilian group there.
Yeah, but your point about Bruno against Southampton, how does an attacking player, is he going to be limited? He's the man that should open the door. He's the man that should unlock the door when we're trying, when we've got 10 men behind the ball, when they're hard to break down. He's the individual that we all turn to find that killer pass, to do something a little bit special and different. And he didn't really do it.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Hannah? Main concern, if you could have one. And again, if you want to make that from the first 2 matches, that's fine. I know the Southampton game was a little bit unusual how it panned out, but
I think I said this when I first came on, and I still stick by it. I'm very much not a Longstaff fan, and I feel like you do get a bit berated if you kind of make comment about the Geordie lads and the team, and that's I don't doubt for 1 second they don't try and give it their all and what have you, but they're not the players to take us to that next level. And I've always said I've got this concern that you've got Tonali to come back. I thought Willock looked really good when he came on. It was a total different quality of Longstaff. But I always have this concern that we'll still pick Longstaff when you've got that fully fit midfield. And it's almost like, it's for me, one of Eddie Howe's downfalls is this undying loyalty to some of these players in the team. And I think that goes with transfers as well. Like you've seen it when Miggy was linked to be going Eddie Howe said he was still a vital part of the team, and actually I think Almiron is. I don't think he's going to be up there this season, and I just think it's that he's got this either loyalty to the players that he's got, and it's just not. He's got to be more cutthroat if he wants to take us that next level and potentially win something. He's got to grow up here a little bit, I think.
It's interesting you say that, Hannah, because I think tomorrow could be quite telling if he plays the likes of Willock. You'd expect Willock to play, you'd expect Barnes to play, you'd even maybe expect like Asula to play. We've obviously brought in as a forward. If they set the world alight against the Premier League team tomorrow, there's going to be even more questions going into Tottenham. And then if he reverts back to Longstaff, if Willock has a blinder tomorrow, it's going to cause more frustration. Yeah, that's a point. Colin, finally, before we move on to transfer stuff, what was your biggest...
Two things. I couldn't believe a player could be a tower of strength on the first game of the season, and then I thought he was next to useless on Sunday. It was Joe Linton. He got knocked off that. But how can a player have such an amazing game and then go into this game and you've got 11 men on the pitch, and yet he was knocked off that ball like he was a feather? And I'm sitting there going, what on earth is... I nearly got kicked out of the stadium for swearing at him. I'm not joking. I got swearing because I got so frustrated, like watching that. My biggest concern, God, I've had this for years. I'm sick to death of defending corners and never leaving a man on the centre circle. Bucks the shit out of us. Has done, always will do, but I'll never see that change because that gives us a great attacking option to leave a speedy player like Anthony Gordon up there. And when the ball can be breaking, you've got a chance, and you'll take three of their players up with them. And I'm sick to death of not seeing that. Maybe I'm old school, and maybe I shouldn't talk about
I think that maybe leaves... I think that leaves managers in between a rock and a hard place sometimes, because if you leave a man forward and something goes wrong in the box where we concede, where we look a little bit short on numbers, even covering space, somebody might then criticise Eddie Howe for leaving a man forward. And I know that the more attacking fan in the crowd wouldn't, but yeah. Anyway, I'm going to share some comments on the screen because I'm not ignoring you all, I promise, before we move on to the next thing. I'll try and keep as many of the questions that are on topic of what we've just been discussing, concerns from Sunday's game. Sorry if I miss any, by the way. It's just some of them flash in front of us. I'm really worried about the weekend's game and lack of transfer activity. Not just at the overall enthusiasm of the players. I'm genuinely worried about the season. Oh, come on, David, the season. We are only 2 games in. We are unbeaten. But yeah, I'm feeling a little bit of a cloud of concern, and if we have no movement and decent incomings, right, I feel we'll want the England job. Ooh, another big statement. My biggest concern was a lack of cohesion between the players. Yeah, I think in the first half, that's a fair comment. My main concern is Trippier. I see falling apart without him. I mean, I think he's important to our side, and I think he proved that when he came on. I don't necessarily think this Newcastle team would fall apart without him, Jack. I think that would be a big thing to happen if one player leaving the club would cause that. Hannah is spot on. I've got to stick them comments on the screen just to keep us all rallied. 100% call dog. I haven't got one to share for you yet, Andy, unfortunately. He'll come.
I think you're 100% before Andy.
Hannah will have paid people. It's fine, don't worry. Hannah will have bribed people with baby Guinness or some sort of shot.
I wouldn't do such a thing.
Yes, that you would, absolutely. You'd be like, 100%. 100%.
Right.
Before we move on, I was thinking today, going back to the 2 games we've played and we've looked really, really lacklustre. I can't remember the year, but Newcastle went on a pre-season tour to somewhere like Malaysia and played 3 games in Malaysia. I think it wasn't under Keegan.
It was under. Don't ask me why I remember this. It was under Bobby Robson when Jermaine Jenas tried to chip the keeper with like a Panenka, and it actually went over the bar. It was the worst penalty I've ever seen in my life.
That's right. And we started the season so slowly. And I think after about a month, they came out and admitted that it was just too far. It was they'd just done the wrong thing. Is that what's wrong with her? Australia? Japan? Is that what's wrong with her?
I can honestly say if any of them players had any issue with Japan, if I was getting Japan paid for the experience I had over there, like the way they get pampered, I'd probably be playing better right now. But
no, but
we had very different experiences over there.
Yeah, I just wonder whether it's
that's interesting. That's an interesting point. There's so much about the Bournemouth game we could keep talking about, but I'm aware that we're already 25 minutes in, and I haven't got past my first question. So I guess that leads us probably nicely, and I know, Andy, you started talking about it. The transfer window. And again, I'll be probably doing another live stream on Friday as it gets closer where this will become another topic. But what I personally think is that when we are not playing amazing, like we haven't against Southampton or Bournemouth, I think what's going on with this current transfer window is leaving a bit of a negative cloud over a lot of Newcastle fans. And I think if we'd signed 3 worldies, and we hadn't started the season that well, I feel like everyone still would have been in slightly better spirits. I think there's a frustration building in our fan base, and probably me included now as well, where there's no way that rich Newcastle United, who clearly have money because they're making a bid for Gay repeatedly, have only brought in, as we alluded to earlier, lots of goalkeepers, a striker that's barely proven at Sheffield United, a youngster is an understudy to Wilson and Isak. And again, of course, I've got some lovely images to share on the screen.
Oh, and I forget now, Tonali still classed as a new player.
I mean, yeah, you could, but many would probably put that in the happy clapping category, Colin, as a lot of people like to do on Twitter now, where that's it's the same. I see Eddie Howe's got a lot of criticism today for saying that because we haven't sold any of our best players, that's a massive thing, and that hasn't gone down well with a lot of the fan base because lots of people are saying that if we are regarding a successful window as not selling our best players, where does that leave us?
Just to add to that, sorry, I think the concern for me as well with Tonali is, yes, he's going to feel like a new signing, but he hasn't played a competitive game of football for the past year.
Absolutely.
And there's that, I think people are expecting him to come in and hit the ground running, and he's probably not even going to start tomorrow night. Let's be honest. So
great.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why he didn't. I don't know why they didn't play so many behind closed doors. He could do. I know they're not that competitive, but he could play in them. I just didn't understand why. Like, there was no stories came out that they were playing like some Scottish Premier League team behind closed doors. It just didn't come out. It was a bit weird, that one, Hannah. I think you're right. I just think he'd lack match sharpness completely. Like, so I agree totally.
So the main question for me here is, like, from both for everyone on this conversation, obviously everyone in the comments as well, so I'll get around to sharing them again soon. What needs to happen this week? And I guess my second question to that, which I'll fire you all with a double whammy, is if not much happens and the window slams shut at the weekend, are we happy? Are we fuming? Are we wanting answers? Are we angry? I'll start with you again. I'm just doing I'll do random round robin constantly. So, Colin, as you're below me right now on this screen, I'll start with you on this one.
There's no doubt we have to bring in one, if not two, really world players. There's no doubt. If you want the momentum and you want to build up and then create and improve on what you've done the previous season, you'll never do that with the same players. Even Man City have brought in players into their squad, and they won the Premiership. So there's that has to happen. It doesn't look like it has. I worry about this. The pantomime that has been, and forgive me for not pronouncing his name, but Gehi, and the fact I'm looking at the team sheet for Crystal Palace now, and I didn't know he was captain of that team. So if he's got that there, is he really going to leave there? And as he's going to be cup tied, do we want to have a player that's cup tied if we go through in the next round, which we will do tomorrow against Forest? So for me, where is the talk of the other players bringing in, or they're just too frightened to talk about them and they have something up their sleeve which is going to surprise the hell out of us, and nobody knew it was coming because it keeps pushing the price up and up because they say Newcastle is going to give money. I'm so glad to hear that. Guy has just gone off injured. Yeah, bugger of hell. That actually makes my night, that, for the fact that the way Crystal Palace have gone on with him on financially for us not to buy him. If he's injured and he's out for the next 3-4 whatever months, you just think Crystal Palace stick that up your arse because it's your own fault. You could have had 65 million for the kid. Sorry, do I sound like an absolute twat then? Well, I want to sound like a twat because that's really... it's not... I don't want a kid to be injured, but for Crystal Palace's sake, you've made this into a pantomime and it shouldn't have been like that because they're just so greedy over that young lad.
Yeah, I mean, I asked this question on the stream I did on Friday, and Adam, who I think's watching, and Lee, who might be watching as well. Our collective opinion was kind of like, if the window slammed shut, but we brought Gay in as the only player, would we be happy? Well, you know, there's a bit of a gaping gap on that right-hand side, but generally speaking, we have got a pretty solid squad. You know, you've got Tonali, Longstaff, Willock, Bruno, Joe Linton, Miley, all in that midfield. You've got Wilson, hopefully can come back and play some part this season. You've got Botman, Lascelles. As it stands right now, Trippier, Livramento, Hall, Kraft, Share. The squad depth is probably pretty decent in terms of the current top 10, last season's top 10. So again, I'll now come to you, Hannah, with kind of the same question I went to Connor. Like, if nothing happens between now and the weekend, and it's breaking that Gay is injured now, so I don't know where that'll leave the rumours moving forward. Are you annoyed? Are you fuming? And what needs to happen in your opinion?
So I was thinking about this before, actually, because I think on one side, I'm quite relieved in a sense of like, we've hung on to Isak, we've hung on to Gordon, we've hung on to Bruno, providing nobody sort of comes in at the last 11th hour with loads of money and takes on them away. However, if you're not anywhere near Europe this season, those three players won't be in that team next year. And then we can't keep having the whole, but we've hung on to these world-class players that we've got because we need to build. We should have walked away from the Gahey deal ages ago, and went and looked elsewhere. Personally, for me, I'd still be looking at an attacking option because you've got Shaw to still come in, you've got Botman to come back. We could be looking to at the defensive options either in January or again in the summer. I think Palace have been greedy. If he doesn't want to be there, what's he got? A year left on his contract at the end of next season. They're never going to get that money again for him. So let them crack on, essentially. I just think we should have walked away from it and explored other options. It's either that or Palace are rubbing their hands together, thinking at the last hour we'll pull the money out because we're going to be desperate. But yeah, I don't know. I think I know what you're saying about the squad, but while we've got depth, if we have injuries, we don't have the quality in every position like we've just talked about there. So yeah, I think it has been frustrating, concerning that if we're not up there in that top six, we are going to lose players at the end of next season. There's no doubt about it.
But just on the Gay one, I don't know whether I'll come to you just in a second, Andy. But I don't know whether you agree with me that, like, if we were to sign him tomorrow for £65 million, or maybe a little bit less if he's now hobbling off at Selhurst Park or wherever he's playing tonight, I wouldn't be excited. And the only reason I say it is based off what you were just saying, Hannah. I'm looking at what our team needs right now, and yes, we've got Lascelles and Botman injured. And I know, Andy, you were saying, you know, Dan Burn, we should be looking to replace someone like him moving forward, and maybe Lloyd Kelly could slowly start to slot in there. But it's not a position that I went into this window with. I know Fabian Schär's getting on a bit, so it's one of them ideal world scenarios that's what I'd be looking at. I think for us to have a really well-balanced team, if Tonali is to come back and smash it in a month's time, once he's got games under his belt, I feel like that right-hand side of our midfield is just gaping. And it'd be great if we get Gay. He had a great Euro tournament. He's 24 years old. He's English. Wonderful. Great. That's a bit of a statement signing. But I don't think it's one that I'm suddenly getting excited, like, oh, can't wait for the Tottenham match to see Gay make his debut. I'm looking at what this team needs, and I'm like, surely it's got to be an attacking player. I don't know. It seems to be a funny place for us to have put all of our focus and money for this summer, and that's what it looks like we're doing. So, Andy, again, same questions to you. What needs to happen, and how would you feel if the window shut, we didn't bring anyone in?
What needs to happen is we need to make two signings of some significant note to gain the confidence of the fan base in the new setup behind Eddie Howe, because I think we're all a bit like no Amanda, no Merhad. You know, what's going on in the background? Is everybody happy? Do we trust them? You know, are they as good as they're meant to on the paper? The Gueye one's really strange. Newcastle United haven't done business in a public forum like this since the takeover, really. They've just kind of bought players in the background. We've played completely in a public eye, this Gueye one. And it's really strange for me. We've gone to top money for him. Top money. You know, I do think that quality centre-half is needed, but not a 70 million quid one. Not at all. I heard at the weekend that Botman might have had a problem. Is Botman out for longer than we know? Obviously, Shaw announced his international retirement yesterday, so I think that kind of tells us where his head's at. But I'm with Hannah as well, and Colin, I think, mentioned it, that we ain't lost any of our big players, which is a huge plus for us. We'll not get a second chance saloon with them if we're not in the Champions League. They will not stay, and we'll be left with some poor footballers. Go and buy a top centre forward for me, or a top forward player for 70 million. I haven't got a problem. Gueye's probably about 25 million overpriced, I think. Will we keep going? I don't think we will. I think we'll just say, allegedly it was they played him tonight awaiting another bid for Newcastle. Well, that bid should be lower because he's bloody Carabao Cup tie now. For me, it's more, in Eddie we trust. What's happening behind the scenes, I'm not so sure. Do we trust this Mitchell? Do we trust the new setup? Who's trying to sign these players? What are we doing? What's happening? Why have we played Gueye out in public? We don't need that. It's not us anymore. We did that years and years ago. Have they got something else hidden away? Or is Gueye a big smoke screen that they know they won't go? Have they actually, where are we? We'll never ever know. But it's like everything else. It just doesn't seem right how we've done it and what's happening in the background at all. And to bring another goalkeeper in would just be, well, to be fair, I suppose if he can kick the ball, then he's got to play because Paul can't kick it. But I think, any good, and, I just, we're kind of, I don't know, two in for me, two with some note, and cancel some contracts in the background of those that are never going to kick a ball for Newcastle again will be where I am.
I mean, you've just came onto a player. I mean, I know I'm asking you how you would feel, what we need, what's been going wrong, and you've all made some great points there. But obviously, this link again that we didn't expect to pop back up with Mr. Trafford, who obviously I've got on the screen. This is the one for me when I read this today that reeks of like a serious lack of plan this summer. And I feel like in previous summers we've had one. And I know some people will say that there's been a change in the helm that probably is in an ideal world. Paul Mitchell would have been in months ago. He would have been in March. He would have had his pen and paper in hand, watching how our season panned out, watching what we needed, speaking to Eddie Howe, and then already having the players ready to make bids for as soon as the window opened. Maybe we just have to take that with a slight pinch of salt. I know there's going to be people watching this who would say that is me being very glass half full, and a club of Newcastle size with the money we have now should still be being run a little bit better than that. But what are your thoughts? And I'll keep this one brief because we don't know where this one's going to go. Trafford, 15 million it's being talked about. Colin, what do you think about this? Another goalkeeper.
I find it difficult to understand why we keep on going for more and more keepers. And if you put three of our keepers together, you've got a world-class keeper. But that can't happen. So, and this Trafford, I haven't exactly heard wonder things about him. I think there's a couple of things, if you don't mind me just coming back just slightly there, that both Hannah and Andy said there. I think you're absolutely spot on. It feels different because during the period when we took over up until where Amanda's left, we weren't a club who told people well in advance who we were looking to buy. We'd stop doing that for that short period. But also it seems like the structure of the club seems to have changed a little bit. And them two are very talkative, told people what was going on because we like to hear that. We've seen that huge change. We've talked about it so many times, how it's made us feel so much better about being a supporter because the contrast and difference between the FCB and what we have now was immense. But is that changing back where they're going to go inwards? But signing another keeper, I mean, good God, somebody there, Dan Box, you've got your opinion, the same as Ken Button has, but I don't believe for a second Dubravka's better than Pope. I think they're equally probably as mediocre keepers as they are. I think I'd rather have Pope just slightly ahead of him. Do we need another keeper? I don't know. I really don't know. We're so short at the front on an. If you've got Isaac gets injured and how we've got the sick note in Wilson, then we need another strong striker up there because Anthony Gordon does like to play up front. For me, he's always going to be left-hand side because that's where he plays best, how he cuts in. But he's not a out-and-out striker for me. So for me, it's an out-and-out striker and a right-back is needed, very much so.
Well, I'll share some comments on the screen because the transfer one, I feel like when I mentioned it on Friday, the comments went off. And it's the same because it almost feels just as much of a talking point at the moment as the football. I've got no doubt all the talk tomorrow will be about the transfer window. So I'll share some on the screen. Oh, there's a lot coming. I like this, by the way, people. Make sure you hit that like button as well. I always forget to ask you that. It does mean this live stream, whilst it's happening, goes to a couple more people, which would always be nice.
Somebody's agreeing with you there, Hilly.
Hey,
you paid them to work.
It's all about patience.
Is that your cousin?
Should have went for Bourne. I don't think West Ham would sell him. Have we went for another centre back? Has Eddie seen a massive decline in clean sheets? Got top 4 in clean sheets. Got top 4 in goals. Oh, sorry, we've scored enough to be up there, but we've conceded too many, I think is what Jack means. Yeah, I think obviously, I mean, you could argue that last season we shipped so many that's why defence was maybe an area they were looking at from the start of the window. Should have pushed for a Chelsea centre-back on loan. Well, which one? I think Chelsea have about 25 they could probably loan out and they wouldn't even notice they'd left the building. I hate, what's that I'm saying? I hate talking out loud and nobody can hear me on these live events. That sounds like you could be going a little bit senile there, Adam.
I'll be on again, don't worry.
On that point, Pope was disgusting in Sunday. I'm not surprised we were looking at a goalkeeper. Now, I have seen a couple of comments. Any talk about Dubravka coming back in for Pope, I am not having at all. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. There is no way in a million years to Sunday that Dubravka is a better goalkeeper than Nick Pope, in my opinion. Nick Pope is the much superior shot stopper. Who's better with the feet? You would probably argue Dubravka, but there's no way. And I am a little bit biased against my disliking of Dubravka. I will admit that. Ken, no, I'm not having you on. I'm not agreeing with you on that one. But like I say, if everyone had the same opinion, it'd be a very, very boring world, wouldn't it?
What's interesting, though, you talk about, just go back to keeper, that Pope is only one further serious injury away from finishing his career with the issue that he's had twice. So are they trying to look at that long term and bringing this other kid in? So I suppose if you look at it in depth, that is something to think about for the future. But keepers isn't the one we should be going for at this moment in time. Well, before long, they'll be telling us John Burridge is coming back.
I think
who remembers Budgie?
You make a good point, Colin, where I think that we are signing players for the future. And I think the way we signed Hall last season I know he was low to start with, but then didn't play him, was fine. I sort of stuck with Eddie Howe on that one, despite him getting battered. And then Hall's come out and said that he wasn't actually ready. He's done an interview this summer where he said, when I first came in, I wasn't up to speed with how this group of players wanted to play. But I think we are maybe looking too much at the moment. It played like Livramento was signed last summer for £35 million and barely played. Whereas we could have, with Champions League coming up, looked a little bit more for now. I'm a little bit worried, like with Trafford, if Trafford is going to be someone we're looking at overspending that money on a winger, even if it is 20 million, I'm a little bit concerned that we future. and just letting the sort of present go past us. But again, a bit of a negative start to the show, 45 minutes in, because there's some of the things. There's a bit of unrest in the transfer window. The Bournemouth match wasn't great. So let's hopefully try and move on to something a little bit more positive, which is, of course, Nottingham Forest in the Carabao Cup on Wednesday night.
Nottingham Forest. Yeah, I know. Can't wait to see that tomorrow.
So, first question, and I think I know what the answer is going to be from everyone who's watching this. How important is the Cup this season? Like, yes, it might not feel like a very big match tomorrow because it's the piddly low rounds. The European teams aren't even in yet. But how much is matches like tomorrow night a massive thing for us? Hannah, I'll start with you on this one. Is this a very, very, very big game for Newcastle United?
Yeah. So I got a bit knocked the other week when there was a poll done, I think it was on Sky Sports, where we'd scored higher on us wanting to finish in the top 4 than win a trophy. And I get the whole Champions League and the position and the revenue and all that sort of stuff. But are these people, I don't know, as like real Newcastle fans, why wouldn't you want to see us win a trophy? I've been going now for 25 years, and the best I've seen us lift is the championship twice. Like, you know, it's not.
How old are you? I thought you were only about 22.
I'm 30. I'm nearly 31. But thank you for that. I will absolutely take that. 9 years you've just knocked off us there.
Hold on, go get me glasses.
I just don't know why people wouldn't want us to win the cup. I just don't get it. Why people feel like it's not an important factor. It would be a massive thing for the team, for the fans. I always think back that weekend that we had in Wembley, like imagining reliving that again, but this time with a better outcome. I don't know.
Well, I saw exactly the Sky vote that you're talking about, and it wound me up so much because I know that most of them fans who voted will have been through social media. And as we all know, fans on social media, well, Twitter especially, I don't know whether that's where the vote was done. I think the younger this isn't me basing this off any facts. I think the younger generation prioritise Champions League because they think of the Mbappes, they think of all of them great players. Whereas the Carabao Cup to a 13-year-old is like, yeah, that would be all right.
I don't think it's the younger generation. I think it's the post-takeover generation. So fans,
that's also fair.
Caring and have come back around because they think, well, to them, we probably should have won the Champions League by now, but never mind. That's my controversial opinion out there for the day.
Yeah, no. I'm sure there's probably more people who will agree with you on those post-takeover fans than probably don't. Andy, Cup. No, firstly, who's going to? I know, Colin, you're going. Is everyone going down to Nottingham Forest tomorrow night? No?
Hannah's not this year. You're not going, Hep, sorry. I am.
All right, sound. So how big is it then?
Yeah, it's big. I kind of agree with Hannah as well that, like, post-takeover, like, the fan base is a bit all over the place. And it's like, there just doesn't seem to be any sort of consistent view on it. I also think that we're still a bit stuck with this overachievement that we had in the first kind of season, Carabao Cup final, Champions League, etc., etc. We're well ahead of the curve a little bit, and I think that, God, there's nobody wants to see we win something more than I do, and I agree tomorrow night's game is really, really important. But top 4 Champions League, it's still, for me, Champions League will pull the players and keep the players.
Hang on. Are you telling me that you would take Champions League over winning the Carabao Cup? Is that what you're alluding to here?
No. I'm alluding. I'm just saying that I'm pretty chilled. I'm pretty chilled about it. I just, for me, like I've just said, the Champions League top 4, etc., is a huge pull for quality players to Newcastle, and it will keep our quality players. But by God, it would be nice to see them win a trophy. It'd be nice to go back to Wembley for the weekend. It would be nice to do that. It would be, and it is a big game. I think I thought we weren't great against them last season in a bloody ding dong battle. And they're a half decent side at home. Whether they'll be up for it as much, they've had a good start to the season. whether they put a full strength side out is something that we don't know. But I think it's really important that we win tomorrow night, because it's extra time and penalties, isn't it? There's no replays in these, so it's you're straight in the extra time and pens. So I mean, look, get me to Wembley, get me celebrating them lifting the trophy, absolutely. But and it's just good if Newcastle get beat tomorrow night, the whole Eddie Howe out brigade will just have this wonderful, hour and a half on Twitter, and it's just a bit ridiculous. But I'm pretty chilled with the whole thing. I'm not, I'll have both. Just win the Carabao Cup, top 4, Champions League. That'll do me. I'm all right with that.
Greedy. Colin, what about yourself? Obviously,
first of all, can you share Dean Young's comment? We must win, because he's talked about being the same age as me. It's brilliant. We must go strong to win the game tomorrow. We need a trophy before I die. I'm 55 and running out of time. Best comment of the night for me so far. Class. Well done, Dean. The cup's humongous. I don't care what cup it is, FA Cup or this one. It doesn't matter. It's getting us back down to Wembley and enjoying and actually winning, because there's nothing more can excite you as a fan than going down to Wembley. Because does anybody on this page now honestly think we've got a chance of winning the Premiership or getting in the top 4 in this season? Because I think we haven't got enough depth. I don't say we're having enough strength in the club for that at this moment. I think when we got the Champions League, every person agreed we were ahead of the curve, as Andy used that phrase before. I think it's evened itself out a little bit, but Europe is a must. But this cup competition, for God's sake, I've never got paid off for Eddie Howe in the way he does things. I admire the man immensely in what he does. He's done so much for us. He already gone down in history for what he's done for Newcastle United. But for me, he needs to start a really strong squad. And even if someone like Lewis Miley's brother gets into play, I'd like to see that. I'd like to see that young kid who looked like and forgive me for my ignorance here of not remembering his name. He looked like a spitting double Maxi in the Friday night Cellar Cup game. He was he was superb. He was brilliant to watch. He wasn't afraid to attack, and that's my style of player, taking people on. But yes, it's cup 100%, and we just need to get stuck into it. There's no doubt about it.
I don't think Jamie Miley will be involved. He's had a great summer. He's worked really, really hard in the summer. I know that for a fact that he's really put it in over the summer. And I thought he looked tidy pre-season. But if he's anywhere near the squad tomorrow, then there's too many ahead of him and Lewis now. Tonali back, Joe Linton, Shawnee, Bruno. They're all ahead of them. It's going to be really difficult for them, but I think they should be there or thereabouts.
It's an interesting, Andy. Just let me ask you a question, and Hannah, and not for you. This one, Matthew.
I was just thinking.
Not for you, and you'll understand why. Both Hannah and Andy have said that they're I'm not going to use the word dislike, but they're not strong on Longstaff. Would you rather have I know he's injured, but would you rather have Miley in or Longstaff on the bench?
Miley. Lewis Miley, you mean? Yeah.
If he was fully fit.
Yeah.
What about you, Andy?
Lewis Miley all day long.
Please forgive us. I'm not trying to contradict you at all. You talk about players being ready. Once he's back, once he's fully fit again, he is, to me, he's got to jump into even a sub, that kid, because of how well he played last season. And you're right, Longstaff should then drop out of that. From my point of view, what's great about these conversations is we all make great managers, don't we? Even the people in the comments, we're all great managers. Would you really like to do the job for real? Because, good God, I didn't think I could handle the pressure.
And I think, Miley for me, he just gives them more. Absolutely gives them loads more than what Longstaff does. He will be back on the bench as soon as he's I've got no doubt about that. No doubt about it at all. But I don't know how
It's-
far away.
it's-
I don't know how far away he is. I don't even think he's back on the grass, is he? So we've got a few weeks.
I don't believe so. I mean, I'm seeing the comments coming in, and I'm not stopping to comment on every single one, but I'm trying to put them on the screen so obviously everyone watching can see what people think. I mean, it looks unanimous in terms of the importance of the cup. Cup is essential. I've had huge. I've also had Hannah. I don't know how many people you've paid. I don't know how many friends you've got. I've had Hannah is nailing it again. I tell you what.
Honestly, I saw that in the comments box. Oh wait, man!
I think
proper. You know what?
I thought when you said her age, they'd stop saying how good she was.
Well,
But, you know,
honestly, she's got a dodgy birth certificate like Obafemi Martin's had. Honestly, in fact, it's more dodgy than Obafemi Martin's birth certificate. It really is.
Hannah's black and white armies better be the next podcast. We'll get an invite to. Be like, get off,
She's
Matthew.
21, not 32. She's 21.
Honestly.
Right. Sorry, I'll get that. I'm not going to leave that comment on the screen the whole time, Hannah. Sorry. Right. So, of course, there's only one place to start in terms of tomorrow's match, in terms of what everyone's going to be talking about. And I've got no doubts about it, what everyone is going to be singing about. And, of course, it is Sandro, like I've already just, I know for a fact I'm going to have it in my head after tomorrow night for about 5 to 6 days straight. I'll be waking up in the middle of the night hearing it. So this is exciting. I don't think any Newcastle fan can say otherwise. We spent £55 million on this man. He started to bed in. He helped us beat PSG 4-1. It looked like he was finding his feet in the Premier League and learning how to play with Bruno a little bit before, obviously, his suspension. We've lost him. This has never been a circumstance. And again, without highlighting your age, gentlemen, on this call, if on this stream, if there's something like this has happened in your lifetimes where a player's been suspended for this long, please let me know. I don't know if it happened for Newcastle before. Yes, we've had injuries where players have signed and then been crocked straight away, but it's very, very bizarre circumstances that we've found signing this bloke. How is everyone, like, are we expecting him to start first and foremost? Would you start him if he maybe had 50 minutes in the tank? Are you bringing him on in the second half, depending on how the game is going? Or are you saying, right, go on, Sandro, you've trained for 9 months, you've kept in tip-top physical condition, you need minutes under your belt, let's see what you can do with the Sky cameras in front of you with the ball at your feet. So I'll start with you, Colin. We'll go down the chain whilst I've got a photo on the screen again.
I think by the sounds of it, he's got to get started so he can pick a new girl out of the crowd, because it sounds like his lass has left him, according to Kenny W. I think he's got to be on the bench. Can't start straight away. I think he's got to be brought on in 55, 60th minute. See if he makes a big change to the game or adds to the game when we're already winning 2-0.
Okay. What about you, Hannah?
I don't think he starts. I think he'll feature at some point, depending on how the game's going. I think probably more the big. Like I said before, because he hasn't played a competitive game in so long, it's a big ask to maybe pull him on and expect him to change the game if it's not going as planned. Maybe it makes more sense if we are winning to sort of bring him on and give players a rest. I don't know.
Is this a different conversation if, like most teams, like most normal teams, we've actually drawn a lower league team in this early in the competition? Are we having a different conversation and saying put him in from the start? Is it because it's Premier League opposition?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think I don't think if it was a lower league team, I don't think he'd start. I think he would have more of a chance of starting. I don't think he would start, but I definitely think he'd get a half with lower league opposition. I think he might get 15 or 20 minutes. It's probably more being around the match day than anything else for him tomorrow. And then I think he'll be on the bench on Sunday and probably get maybe fit. Well, anyhow, the substitutions are 88.5 minutes normally. So I think we'll probably see him for maybe 15 or 20 tomorrow and probably the same on Sunday. Would be my guessing.
Mm-hmm. And what are we expecting from him realistically? And I know, like, we've been talking about it earlier on this stream, where the fan base is changing. What you believe, what I hear on the buses, in the pubs, chatting in WhatsApp groups is incredibly different to what I see on Twitter, and I'll stand by that. It just seems to be a different universe. # NUFC is one of the most bizarre places you can plonk yourself on Twitter. compared to what I know as a conversation, even when we get beat on the way back from an away game, even speaking to fans on my match vlogs outside home games, it's very different. And I think social media will have a lot of expectation for this guy. So if he plays half an hour tomorrow and doesn't set the world alight and gives the ball away a couple of times, oh, he's the worst player on earth. Send him back. I never like pizzas anyway. Send him back. Send him back. But I think there's got to be a level of realism. So what are everyone's... I'll go in opposite order this time. Andy, what are your expectations for this guy coming in after so long out?
I've got none for him, mate. Just come back and play and get yourself match fit, and you'll be more important to us after Christmas. In my eyes, I think he'd be more important to us after Christmas, FA Cup, potentially Carabao Cup later rounds. You know, we're going to get an injury, we're going to get a suspension. He'll be more important to us later on in the season. That's for me. Just get him back around the match day environment, get him back some more game time, and go from there. For me, I've got unless, well, to be honest, he might have to come on and score the winning penalty tomorrow night. But you know, I've no real expectations from him at all. Just get him back on the pitch.
I'm gonna ask the same question to you tomorrow night after 5 or 6 pints when you're singing Sandro, Leo, and see whether you say exactly the same thing about him if you find out he's in from the start.
I'll be buzzing if he's in from the start. But I don't think after 5 or 6 pints I will be anyway. But he just won't start. Well, I just don't think that's Eddie Howe. If he starts, there's a big reason. Either somebody's got a knock or whatever. I just don't think you'll do that to him. I think it would be hard for him emotionally, really, to go in there from the start. You know, judging by his interview today, he's been in every day. He's trained. You know, he's probably as fit as he's ever been because he hasn't had the matches, he hasn't had the knocks, the niggles that you get from a season. He's probably as fit as a butcher's dog, but I don't think he just needs to get game time. He just needs to be around the match environment for me.
Oh, there you are. I was going to say, Andy, I'd started to lose a bit of your head there. I didn't know whether this was turning into a really weird game of naked attraction.
It's steady, Tiger.
Andrew, I'll come to you with the same question. Expectations. Is there many, or is it just let him find his feet and let him go from there?
No, I agree. I think no expectations. I think what you've just said before about sort of Twitter and stuff like social media, I think the danger is because he's been out for so long, people, if he does have a bad 15, 20 minutes, if that's what he does come on for, people get on his back to say, well, he's been training non-stop for the last 9 months. Why, he's going to get that. People have got to be realistic in the fact he hasn't played competitive football. And I think a little bit, I know it's different circumstances because obviously he did play a few games for us and he did start him, didn't he, at the start of last season? But it could be a little bit like, if you remember when we signed Bruno, Eddie waited a while to sort of bed him in the team. We could see a bit of that again.
Yeah.
What about you? That's a good point on Bruno, to be fair. I think people are like itching to get him in.
Hannah's on fire tonight, to be fair.
What can I say?
I'm not saying I agree with you, like, not this time, I'm bloody well not.
This is like some sort of Hannah Applewhite.
To be fair, at least Addy's had 2 agreements now. That's one of Hannah and one of somebody in the chat. Overall, I think the man's got a point to prove. When he does get on the pitch, whether hopefully it is tomorrow or gets on in the game against Spurs, he's got one hell of a lot to prove. Loyalty that the club has shown towards him, and the fans have been unbelievable towards him, and he's not kicked the ball for a good part of a year. I don't think, honestly, he'll come on until the final best part. He might get 30 minutes, but I think he'll end up getting about 15 minutes tomorrow. I genuinely can't see why you'd want to start a man who has no match fitness. He may be as fit as a butcher's dog, as what a stupid saying that is. But at the same point, why would you shove somebody in the deep end like that? Put him in the shallow end and bring him in gentle. I really do think that. Me personally, if I was manager, that would be me doing that. I wouldn't throw somebody in the lion's den like that. No way.
Mm-hmm.
No. Matty, can I just say something, right?
Yes, go on.
This is not for tonight.
I'm always worried when it starts with that. I feel like you're going to say, did you like Benitez or not? Because that's a big debate.
No. There's a lot of comments in the chat, right, about Kevin Keegan.
I've seen this. I can't keep
And
up.
you know what? It really kind of puzzles my brain. Why is Kevin Keegan not an ambassador for this football club?
That's a good point.
Why is he not involved in the football club?
Sorry, I'm catching up with the chat a little bit. I won't rein in on this too much, but how did Kevin Keegan come up in the chat? I'm a little bit.
Just a bit of a joke from Ian, and I get why he said it, because he's that generation like I am, that Keegan was huge and he won the respect and the love of the fans because of the style of football. And I think a lot of fans of that age, me included, it was great times to be watching the club play. Between Keegan, the three greatest managers of my time that I've seen is Keegan, Bobby Robson, and Eddie Howe. All three have done wonders in bringing the fans, gelling them together. So I understand Ian's having a bit of a laugh, but I think, you know what, Hilly, I think you're absolutely nutty spot on what you said. He should be an ambassador for this club because I think it would be one of them things that people just love Keegan, and it doesn't matter who you support. Keegan's always such a nice guy. I've met him 3 or 4 times. A really, really nice bloke, and like many of us have, because he's just a really good bloke. But he can't come back to manager. He's 73, but I agree totally with you. Totally, nutty agree with what you just said there, Andy.
Just because he came up in the chat, that I just think that it's just, for me, it was one of those things that we thought to do straight away, and I just don't. I don't get it. I don't understand it at all, because we'll miss the boat, and it'll be the worst day ever that we've not had him back at some sort of thing. Imagine the buzz, if he just was part of the club and was around the stadium on a match day. Like, it would just be. For fans of my generation, incredible. Like, it would just be, having watched him play. I'm not really that old. Having watched him play and watched him manage through probably the greatest times. You just want somebody like that around the club.
I still remember. Obviously, I don't remember the Keegan football days because I was only a wee nipper. But I do remember the buzz when Keegan was brought in for the second time from Ashley. That FA Cup game, everybody suddenly wanted tickets. That game against Stoke, people were like rushing to the stadium.
I remember
that. Mental, absolutely mental. And that was Keegan's back. Have you heard Keegan's back? Keegan's back. It was just insane. Sorry, we will get back on. I know I've gone over the hour, but I don't like to set these things down. As long as nobody is on right now who needs to jump straight off. So, of course, we've talked about that. So that will move me quite quickly. And we won't stick on this one too long with regards to team selection. So I'm not going to ask you to pick starting 11 from goalkeeper through, because that would take a long time. I'll start with you on this one, Hannah. What players, generally speaking, would you like to see come in from Sunday's game? Obviously, assuming he's not going to put a full 11 out different, because that would be a little bit worrying if he did that. Like, are we looking at a midfield of, like, Almiron and, I'm trying to think. I've had a memory fart. Obviously, Tonali, we've talked about, he should maybe be kept. Trippier, Hall maybe to come back in. I don't know. Is there any players you'd like to see tomorrow night play?
I personally thought before Sunday panned out the way it did, the subs that he made probably would have been the changes he was going to make anyway. I was expecting him to start with Barnes, probably Trippier, Willock to come in just to give him a bit of a run out. I don't think he's going to make masses of changes, to be honest. I think he'd probably still start with Isak. We might see that, what's he called? Osula. Pronouncing it. Might get a run out depending on how things are going. I think the concern tomorrow is getting it done inside 90 minutes. And I think he's got to pick a strong side to get it done, because then, he is going to have to change it up, and it's a long, if we go extra 30 minutes and penalties, and then we've got to play again on Sunday. But I would like to see Barnes start, because I thought he made a difference. Willock, Trippier, Hall. I don't know. Will he play Pope? He might play a different keeper. Sure. But could an Almiron, you might get a run out. I don't know. But yeah, they would probably be the subs would be my key that you made on Sunday would be my key changes. I think. Got to go with a strong team.
Any different players to what Hannah's suggested there to come in from Sunday from either of you? I know you've touched, Colin, a little bit on Sanusi and how obviously he looked quite good in pre-season, but maybe he's a little bit too raw for Premier League opposition with Cup being...
do you know, even though it's a Premier League team, it's still we're playing against, or they're playing against us, whatever you want to say. It's still a cup game, no matter what you do. Notts Forest is going to make changes. Something we've never picked up and never talked about at all. Can I just ask, Kelly, did you think Kelly was played in the correct position on Sunday? Because I wasn't that impressed with him.
He's almost Kelly for me. Even what he's done at Bournemouth is almost a bit of a Dan Burn. He's certainly not as slow as Dan Burn by no means, but in terms of a centre back who is probably better at centre back in the modern game, because when he plays left back, yes, he can be defensively sound enough, but he's not going to offer much in the final third. He's not going to be overlapping Gordon. He's not going to be whipping balls in. He's a makeshift, and I think Eddie Howe played him on Sunday there from a tactical point of view. I think he wanted height. I don't know the height of the Bournemouth team. I don't know whether they generally do quite well from set pieces. I didn't look at that, but I think it was tactical, and could Hall have made a bigger impact? Yeah, maybe. I was just curious.
Just to finish off, I was going to say, I think oh my gosh, I'm saying these words. I agree with Hannah. I'm joking.
Of course you do.
I think definitely Hall and Trips has to be in that starting lineup. They made such a difference. They've got to be there.
And use again. I know Hannah had mentioned Asula. Are you starting Asula as our only other striking option, or are you letting Isak lead the line with it being Premier League? I'll come to you, Andy, for that one.
No, I think pretty much the team that finished on Sunday will be the team that starts tomorrow night, in my opinion.
Right. Okay.
I don't want to see Tropodopoulos in goal. I don't want to see Kelly at left back.
Tropodopoulos.
I've got the idea how to say it. You know what I mean? But like, just pretty much start with a team that's...
Get that printed on one of your tops, please.
Hey, you know what? Do you know what, right? And it was a conversation on the way down on Sunday that I never got involved in. This top that I've got now is obviously a Newcastle tracksuit top. Everybody can see that. But this is the only bit of Newcastle merch I've had since I was 21.
What's that behind you?
I wish I had some...
What's behind me? That is Gavin Peacock's top.
Wow.
His final game for Newcastle. I was looking.
I really wish I had some dramatic music to put over that random fact. That's the first thing you bought in a long time. Yeah. Because I know everyone was watching, thinking, "Hang on, he looks like a bloke who hasn't bought a piece of merchandise for a very long time."
Well,
I haven't bought a football top since Pavel Čureček was in goal.
I need to get to the gym before I put a black and white top back on.
We've talked about our team. Of course, I'm not going to talk too much about Nottingham Forest. It's a cup game. They've started the season well, but they've got the same amount of points as us. They've won one, they've drawn one. Of course, there's one man who we might have to keep an eye on. I did do a little bit of digging. I don't even like seeing him in that Forest shirt. I was always a big fan of Elliot Anderson. I will always anyone who watches these things know I'm a big fan of Elliot Anderson. I did a bit of digging. Apparently, Anderson played quite well. I mean, this Nottingham Forest ratings page gave him 7 out of 10 on Saturday in midfield. Said he linked up quite well. He is starting matches for them, and he is helping them to points. It's just going to be a little bit weird seeing him on the opposition side. I'm sure he will be feeling very, very weird about facing Newcastle so early in his Nottingham Forest career as well. Is the right written on the wall with this one that this man is going to do something tomorrow night if he plays or not?
Yeah, he's going to score the consolation goal.
Hey, that's what I like to hear. It's just true Newcastle style, isn't it? It is true. And I'll tell you what else is true Newcastle style. This man, if he plays, I don't even know whether he's fit. I don't know whether he's featured on Saturday or not. You can tell. I mean, that's my worst edit. I did that. I'm actually embarrassed I've put that on the screen. That's one of my worst ever edits. Of course, Mr. Chris Wood, the last time he faced us, turned into prime Lionel Messi. So there's a couple of ex-Newcastle players in there, a couple to keep an eye on.
He's only got one ear now.
What?
No, he's only got one ear.
What's the matter? Well, anyway, it doesn't matter. You don't need to see me. It's the Hannah Hepplewhite Roadshow, man. They only want to see Hannah.
No, he's
That's
on about
it.
the photo on the screen, Andy, not you, man.
Oh,
Jeez.
I thought
Calm
it was
down,
me.
Billy.
Right.
Put
anyway.
Andy back on, man, will you?
Oh man,
Anyway.
steady on.
Right, this isn't going to be a quiz this time. I know I like to bring a couple of interactive things in before we wrap this up and get some score predictions, but we are going to play a very, very quick game. And I think, Hannah, if you don't take the win on this one after the night you've had with the comments you've been getting, then it's going to be a disappointing way to round off.
Hannah's lovely and Hannah's great. We agree with Hannah. For Christ's sake.
Colin, you do realise, Hannah, by you getting these positive comments, Colin is not going to sleep tonight.
Mate, I'm shit. I bet I'm up at 35 in the morning to go to Wigan. So
we're going to play a little game of. Oh, where's the sound? Honestly. Oh, I've lost my sound. How much do you know? Should have been playing on the screen there. So, it's not going to be a quiz as it was on Friday. I'm not going to ask you to name new players who played for Newcastle and Nottingham Forest. I'm going to ask you and anyone in the comments, but I'm not, anyone on the screen, don't look at the comments because that would be cheating and that would make you an awful person and you have to sleep tonight knowing that you're a cheater. So don't do that. What was the score the last time Newcastle played at Nottingham Forest in the League Cup and who scored for Newcastle?
Oh, got beat. We got beat 3-1.
Sound effect on this live stream, so I've got to make my own with a little
We
finger.
got beat 3-1.
That is correct. For the full point, I need Newcastle scorer. It was in 2018. I was there. It was midweek, and it was horrible. The way the game.
Lascelles scored.
It wasn't Lascelles. We can split the points if anyone can get the scorer.
Alex, man, I got most of them too. Don't know. I want the full point.
Anyone?
I haven't got a clue.
I was there. That's Hayden. Well done, Nick. It was Hayden. Fuck's sake.
It certainly wasn't Nick. And sorry, don't listen to Colin. He's not the quiz master. It was not Hayden.
What's man?
It was not Hayden.
I haven't got a clue. I think I was there, but I can't remember who it was.
As soon as I remind you of the game, you will remember because the way the game panned out, it was disgusting.
Was it the penalty game?
Is no one going to give us the answer of the scorer?
I haven't got a clue.
No clues from Hannah. Don't think any clues from Andy. Colin just keeps saying whoever comments is correct when they are all incorrect. Right. The answer I was looking for, it was 3-1. Colin, as I said, you were correct to Nottingham Forest. The scorer was Rondon. How the game panned out. Not that photo. I've got some reminders for you even to share on the screen. So Rondon equalised in the 92nd minute, and we were all buzzing. And then they went up the other end in injury time and ended up scoring 2 goals to knock us out. And there was a disgraceful penalty decision in like the 96th minute where Perez got clattered by the goalkeeper and it wasn't given, and then they went and scored the 3rd. It was an absolute disgrace of a decision right at the end. So I don't mean to finish on that negative in terms of the last time we played there, but that will lead me quite nicely. And I don't think the stats that my videos are playing on the screen at the moment, that'll lead me quite nicely and quite quickly into some black and white banter. Stats. That's right.
I win that competition.
No.
You got half a point. So you're definitely the winner on the screen, but you didn't quite get the full answer. So,
don't take it. If Hannah would get the half a point, you would have said cheat won, right?
No, I wouldn't.
I'm vindicated, Andy, because I am.
Honestly, I'm honestly, there'll be like the next time I see Hannah and we'll have a beer in some random pub somewhere, we'll have to like all form a like circle around her to protect her from a hordes of fans. You know what I mean? It's like
Hilly, I'll have a random pub by then, man. I'll be that famous. I'll be in a box somewhere with private jet flying us in.
Right. We won't be good enough to drink with any more heps, will we? You and Dave will be taken away to this private area.
You don't know the sort of people that watch this stream.
I'm really 30-odd.
You don't know who watches this stream. Hannah will have next away game. You go to Hannah just because you've been on it tonight. I can tell you've had your Weetabix for your breakfast. And you've come prepared. You are going to be mobbed in the next away game. I remember seeing you. You're the one who knows loads of stuff. That's what you're going to get. Anyway, black, white, banter stats. I'm going to keep these very short and sweet because I'll be totally honest. I like to do my digging into stats. When you look at cup matches, there are very few stats on the internet. So if anyone wants to give me a pat on the back tonight, I went and had to make these and research these myself. So I'll get the negative one out of the way first. Newcastle have lost their last 2 League Cup matches against Forest in both 2017 and, as I just mentioned on that quiz question, 2018. So let's not hope it's 3 off the belt. But Forest have exited the first round of the Cup 6 times this century. Let's hope that's 7 tomorrow night. And lastly, if anyone is betting, and Black White Banter does not promote gambling in any way, shape or form, especially now that Tonali is back, that's the last thing we've been promoting. The last 4 games between these teams have averaged 3.5 goals per game. So if you were a gambling man, it might be worth looking. There might be a pretty bit of decent value in goals galore. We beat them 3-2 last season when Bruno got the double, and obviously Chris Wood banged a hat-trick at St. James's Park on Boxing Day. That's Black White Banter stats done and dusted. Before we wrap things up, I'm going to quickly share it on the screen. Please, everyone watching, follow Black White Banter across all social media, because if you're enjoying this, you might enjoy some of my more random shite that I post on a daily basis on Facebook, TikTok, and Twitter. And if you haven't already, whack that like and that subscribe button. Right, before we get to people's questions who've been watching tonight, hashtag BWB, if you want to ask a question before we wrap this up, it is time to finish with some predictions. Right. Eeny, meeny, miny, more. Catch Andy by a toe. Andy, what are you going for tomorrow night?
5-4 on penalties.
Oh, what very precise.
I hope not.
Is it 0-0 in normal time? Is that what I'm assuming you're going for in the actual match?
Probably be 2s each or something. Look, I think we don't know what they're going to do. They've got more reason to rotate their squad because they've had a good start of the season, and their squad's probably not as deep as ours or with quality. So they might rotate it, but I just feel we might. Given the last 2 games where we've struggled to score goals, I think it might be sort of 1-1, 2-2, and then into extra time penalties for me. Right.
Okay. Over to you, Colin. Because I'm going to finish with the answer with Hannah, who stole a short tonight. She can round this one up with her predictions. So I'll go to you next.
Okay. Sorry, Hannah, you're saying canny, but by God. 3-1. Definitely.
First scorer?
I would really, really like to see Joe Linton playing tomorrow, and I'd like to score a goal tomorrow. I'd like to up his game from Sunday. Definitely. 3-1, definitely. I'm going to put a bet on, actually.
Right. Again, we do not promote gambling. And Hannah, over to you.
I'm not that optimistic.
You've gone down my estimations now.
Undoing all your good work tonight by saying you're not very optimistic.
I think it'll go to extra time. I think we might maybe nick it 1-0. I don't think there'll be a lot of goals, to be honest.
Oh, right, okay. Totally taking my stats of the last recent matches and just like saying, no, I'm not having any of that. I like it though. I would take
about me, so you know.
It's all about the heps. Colin, she's a lovely girl, actually. She's like a proper away game mate, and she's a canny drinker, right? But you know what? Even I'm pissed off with her than it. Like, honest to fucking God, it's like honest fucking God.
And who's your first scorer, Hannah?
Class.
I don't know. I'm gonna go Barnes.
Barnes, happy days.
Yeah, I could go for Elliot Anderson there, like.
Right, here's some predictions coming in. Matty, no doubt I'll be seeing you on Sunday in the usual spot. 2-2, win on penalties. Yeah, could argue he's copied your answer there, actually, Andy. I like this one coming in. Yes, I did see a comment earlier. You didn't have to remind me you were the person who did the voiceover for one of my videos. I'm very, very well. I'm always very appreciative of that. 7-0. Imagine the scene. Sandro plays half an hour in a 7-0 win. Tasty. Ian, 3-2. Yeah, same score as last season. I would take it. If you offered him that me now, it sounds like I'd be on the edge of my seat for the full 90 minutes, but I would take it. 1-0 Tonali. Can you literally write in the headlines, Sandro is back? Oh, that would be lovely. That's not a bad prediction, actually, 1-0 Sandro. I like that. That's my favourite one so far.
I've got 19-1, but I'm not promoting gambling for 3-1.
No, any odds shared on screen are subject to change, ladies and gentlemen, and please contact your local gambling operator. Don't assume that Colin's odds that he's offering you are correct at the time of this video.
Jesus Christ.
I could be wrong, but I was wondering this actually, Andy, when you said it earlier. I just didn't want to make a big deal. When you mentioned about things going to extra time, I'm not sure, like the FA Cup, whether they do. It might just go straight to penalties. I don't want to go digging up on the internet to find that out, but I would prefer that.
Doesn't matter, does it?
Ken's coming in 4-2 to Toom, Burn first goal. That will be lovely again. 4 goals away from home in the Cup against the Premier League side. I'd be up for that. Is any more coming in? Right, I don't think there is. So let's get to some questions before I let you go, because we have run over a little bit, which I apologise for. So I'll dig these out. This is why anyone asking a question, please use hashtag BWB, because it just makes this flicking a little bit faster to spot. There's been a lot of comments, by the way, tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I love to see it. There's been a lot of interaction from people watching. I'm sorry, I just can't share all the comments on the screen.
Has Jack's got one, mate? Matty, will you tell us when you're streaming at the end of your uploads, if it's possible? I know
yes,
a lot.
Yeah, sorry. By the way, I'm going to finish on. I'm going to quickly mention this just on that topic, and this isn't too much. I get a lot of comments on the different videos. You kind of expect it when you put content out. One that frustrated me a little bit today on my vlog from Sunday was the one that maybe hammered home a little bit because it was factual. But someone commented saying, "Why the hell are you uploading a match vlog 3 days to 2.5 days after the game? You need to basically sort it out, and you should be doing a video about travelling down to Forest tonight." Well, I did bite to it, and I'll say to anyone watching this, I try and make lots of different content across all platforms. I like to edit me videos a little bit more, so I would like to put match vlogs and stuff out a little bit sooner than I do, but I try and just make them a little bit different, maybe put in little, anyone who watches them will know, but just know for anyone who thinks, why has he posted that 2 days later? It's just because I'm not in a position that I can be a full-time content creator like some people who do this sort of stuff are. I don't need to mention any names. We all know who the biggest Newcastle content creators are. They do it pretty much for their life. But yeah, it was just on that topic. So Jack, yes, I will try and book and schedule live streams moving forward. My next one will probably be Friday night to discuss the Tottenham match. Any more coming in? I think I have seen a couple of hashtags. It's just very, very difficult to navigate.
Somebody said, should Bruno have been captain, vice captain first, and should he make trips?
Yes, I'll put it on the screen now. Yeah, it's Jack again. Was it too early to make Bruno captain, and should he be vice captain and Trippier back to captain? Well, I think the first part of that, I'll let you give your very quick thoughts on these questions coming in. I don't think how he's ever going to change captains back. I don't think how that upsets the dressing room massively. Do I think Bruno should have got the captaincy? Maybe my unpopular opinion is that I think Joe Linton would be a much better leader on the pitch, and I think Joe Linton would have probably cried. I know Bruno's an emotional guy, but Joe Linton being with the club from when he has under Steve Bruce, when times were really bad, to now becoming the beast he is on the pitch, he just looks like a leader when he's on the pitch. He's here, there, and everywhere. I would have probably gone Joe Linton. I don't think Bruno's going to be a bad captain. And Trippier, I don't know. I think Eddie Howe has a plan to make Livramento the number one man moving forward. So maybe that was part of the decision as well. I don't know what you guys think. I'll let you discuss that one whilst I dig out the next question.
I think it's more about the leadership group in the background, mate.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more of a group thing. Yes, you get an armband. Yes, you've got to do what you do. But I think the leadership group's strong. And, whatever's going on with Trips, making him captain, putting him on that pedestal, it's probably not the pressure he needs right now. Just get your boots on and go and play football. It's probably go and play football. Don't lead the football club. Yes, he might be a bit annoyed about it, but maybe for the best of him, just go and play football.
Mm-hmm. And some of them rumours are started by clickbaiters.
No, it's all honestly, man. It's just Twitter again, isn't it? It's like, it was just. I don't know. But we never ever know the truth, do we? We're never ever going to find out the truth, whatever. But at the end of the day, just take him out the firing line a bit. Just let him go and play football. It's a privilege to captain any football club, but in our eyes, it's a privilege to captain the best football club in the world. But like it's all about, for me, it's all about the strength and the diversity in the leadership group, and it's there. So I think that's, for me, is the most important thing. And I don't really get this bollocks of club captain and match day captain. You're the captain, aren't you?
Captain, you're captain.
You're captain. We could always give it to Shawnee or Nick Pope or something like that. I'm sure Shawnee would make a good captain.
Yeah, I reckon me like.
Oh, honestly, God.
I'd have them whipped into shape. No time.
To be fair, when Matty was talking about people complaining about him not getting his blogs out and stuff quick enough, I think he's just trying to interview you there. You've been interviewed the whole of the last hour and a half. Like, to be fair, Hannah, he's going to get to join up with you.
Hey, anyone watching this, St. James's Park, always at the top of the steps near the Milburn statue. I'm always in the same place. Rather than me going up to people like a total knob, as Matty knows who's watching this because he walks past us every week with his dad. If I can avoid having to go, excuse me, you don't mind answering? Nah, fuck off. I do get that quite a lot. That's much better for me. Right, we'll move on. Matty's got a question, not football related, but I do promote Oasis or Blur. Ooh. I'll go Oasis. I'm not buying into the Oasis hype as much as some do because it's not really my genre of music, but I do like them. What about yourselves? Oasis or Blur?
Neither.
Oasis.
Hannah?
But it won't happen anyway because they'll fall out before they get there.
Do you know that's what I'm looking for? All this hype and the two little Mancunian twats will just fall out with each other. three venues in.
I reckon they'll headline Glastonbury next year. There you go.
I think the appropriate song with that comment, Colin, is "Don't Look Back in Anger."
Bloody hell, I know.
Next question. There is another one been added, but I will have to wrap this up quite quickly because we have overrun quite a lot tonight, and I haven't had my tea, and I'm absolutely clamming. Newcastle haven't signed a right winger since Rafa was manager. What's your thoughts on this? That's quite an interesting stat, to be fair. It's quite an unusual stat. Yeah, we need a right winger. I mean, I don't know what the angle you're coming at there, Craig. I don't think Eddie Howe's has got a fear of signing right wingers or anything that deep. And I'm just going to question that a little bit. So, not that I hate to void your stat, would we not class Yankuba Minter as a winger? And if so, that stat is incorrect. Sorry to be that guy, but I would probably class Yankuba Minter as a right winger, although he never played for us.
Well, I don't think right wingers exist anymore, mate.
Oh, right.
Well, I've said this before on the other, Matty. Eddie plays with this mobile front three, doesn't he? Where they're all interchange into positions anyway. Mm-hmm. So
that's
the front three move positions, and because fullbacks play so fucking high up the pitch now, there's not really a right winger, is there? We're not back in the olden days where they had white chalk on the boots and they hugged the right wing and they didn't defend. In Minter, yeah, you could say I get it. I think it's you buy a midfielder now, and pretty much a midfielder will play across the midfield if they're good enough, And I guess it's a bit of a funny stat, but he might be right. He might be right, but
he has come back and said he has said Minter didn't play. But if I go back to the question, the statement was that we haven't signed the right winger since Rafa. So again, I'm going to say that Minter does technically class as signing a right winger. But yes, I can be a bit technical and stuff like that, so I apologise. I can go into total stat head mode. Last one, JJ Black White Banter videos are the Geordie Borat cultural learnings. My videos have been described many things, some nice, some not so nice. I've never been described as the Geordie Borat cultural learnings, so I guess I'll take it. I'll assume that's meant in a nice way. Right, I'm going to wrap that up with there, ladies and gents. Again, thank you very much, everyone, for watching. The comments coming in have been absolutely fantastic. Big week ahead. This time next week, the transfer window is closed. Newcastle will know whether they are in the next round of the Cup, and we will have played our first big team in the Premier League in Tottenham Hotspur. I use that term loosely when I say big, but it will be a very different conversation on how things are looking in a week's time. Colin, Hannah, Andy, thank you very much for joining me tonight. I'll see you two, Hannah. I won't see you tomorrow night. But I know you said you're not going, Hannah, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm not. No.
I'll see you two fine gentlemen tomorrow night. Thanks everyone for watching, and as always, keep the faith. Eddie Howe's Mags next week will be looking pretty rosy in the